Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum as usual. It's been 12 days. We've been discuss about Bitcoin and Ethereum prices changing. So we're talking about specifically everything about Bitcoin and Ethereum. How's it going in the chart? So today is as usual. We're gonna talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, specifically about everything, almost everything about the news, how the chart is going, and yeah. So if you're new to the live, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up to the live. It's been 12 days. We've been discussing about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you guys know that how the prices are changing, how it's going. So there's a lot of things are changing around Bitcoin and Ethereum. It is not stable. So today is as usual. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's been 12 days. We've been discussing about Bitcoin and Ethereum. As you can see right here, there's a lot of things are changing in the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently running into an important support, which is continuing the short-term break to the downside. But this could change very soon with the Federal Reserve rising interest rate, which I will talk about in just a moment. So definitely stick to the live. First of all, talking about the FOMC. So 25 basis. Initially, like the future market is currently pricing, and this completely prices in a 25 basis point hike, which means the Federal Reserve rise interest rate, which is set to happen very soon, in just a matter of this live. In if that happen, we shouldn't really see too much volatility, or at least initially in the market, but we could end up seeing a little bit more. So based on the Fed chair, say Jim Power and the FED press, which had happened half an hour, the new number got released. So as always, I'll be treating giving the news now on the YouTube. So which is kind of right now. And so if you don't know about the chart or trading, you can watch some videos in our channel. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the thumbs up to the live. The point hike, and instead the Federal Reserve keep interest rate the same. So we see no change in interest rate. Then if that happen, we will likely see a move back to the upside across the market. That will be bullish for the market. But on the other hand, the Federal Reserve actually rise interest rate by 50 basis point, which means rising interest rate. But half of a percent, that in the scenario, we will likely see a dump across the market, because barely anyone is pricing in case wondering about future Fed meeting. The one after the one today is happening in September, and as of now, based on what the majority in the market is currently pricing, if we see a 25 basis point hike today, when we will look likely see no more rate highs after today rate highs, simply based on the current market probability. And so essentially today might be the last 25 basis point hike in interest rate, before a large pause in interest rate, meaning keeping interest rate the same for multiple months and then potentially entering into early 2024, we should potentially start to see rate meaning interest rate coming back the downside, similarly based on the current market probability and what the market is currently pricing in. Obviously between now and then this probability can change based on the factor like inflation for example, but just bringing it back once again, we should be expecting a 25 basis point hike at the most likely scenario, considering that pretty much completely priced into the market. But once again, even if we that expected outcome, we could still see some short term based on Jerome Powell say in the press conference just after we got the new number. So once again, I will be covering all of this live as soon as it happened over my channel. So this live now just before getting into the chart, first quickly reminding, if you want to know about trading, investing, or OTC or something like that, you can also check out 2SK platform. You can do right there. It has an option that you can try, so make sure you check out the 2SK platform. It's been since it was a long time, and so yeah, you should check it out. So let's go to chart. So the part of this slide for now is the Bitcoin chart, and once again, as of right now, the Bitcoin price is still within a larger multi-month. So it's a long bullish. The price on the current short-term pullback. Of course, the larger trend is technically in the same which obviously the complete opposite to what we saw during the previous 2022 bear market. But if you zoom in into the daily Bitcoin chart, obviously just recently we have seen a bit more on rejection from this strong resistance, sitting closer toward a 31,000. So obviously bearish divergence playing out for nearly the last 1.5 or 2 weeks now, which once again means we should not really be expecting a lot of bullish momentum in the imminent short term, and instead we are likely going to see either some choppy sideways press action or potentially a slight pullback, pretty much like what we have seen over the last 1 or 2 weeks as expected. And now what the daily Bitcoin RSI is continuing this trend to the downside. Basically why this is happening, remain active on the chart. So once again, we should not be expecting a lot of bullish momentum again until we start see more of a reversal RSI. For example, higher lows and higher highs beginning from again, which could also potentially found a bullish divergence. If we found a higher low alongside lower lows in the price, and obviously if we see other signal like a breakout and the RSI above this descending, the price above this are resistant, obviously all of those signals can help the invalidate this previous bearish divergence. But at least for now, this is currently, and if you are looking at the daily Bitcoin MAC, this is also a looking more bearish than bullish. So at least for now, once again, we should not really be expecting a lot of bullish momentum in the imminent short term. And now, if you zoom in into the smaller time frame, so taking a look to the chart right now in the smaller time frame, and I mentioned in my last live, the price of Bitcoin is currently running into the support and important Fibonacci level of support, which is the 38.2 level, sitting at around 28.9k. So at least for now, that is the important support to pay attention. But if the level break, then I will expect a drop towards about 28,000 to 28.1k. So at the 50 retracement level, and below that, it is the golden pocket area of support in between, around 27,000 to 27.2k. But once again, as I said towards the beginning of this live, depending on the outcome of the Federal Reserve on the decision, and also the Federal Reserve press conference, that can influence the market and the short term. So for example, if we see no rate hike, once again, that would mean likely a larger bounce back to the upside. But if we see a 50 basis point hike, then we will likely to break the support and start heading towards the next level on support. But as I said earlier, once again, even if we got the expected outcome of 25 basis point hike, initially we should not really be seeing a lot of volatility, or but we could still see some short-term conference, which once again I will be covering everything, the news on this channel. So taking a look to the 2-hour chart. We could still see some short volatility based on conference, which once again, so in the short time frame, taking a look to the 2-hour chart, Bitcoin chart, right now on this bearish flag pattern is technically, in order to invalidate this previous bearish flag pattern, we would need to see a confirmed breakout back above this level, so 29.7k. And so if that happened, once again, that will invalidate this bearish flag pattern in this price target to the downside. But even if that happened, obviously we will still have some resistance to the upside again, and this level of resistance to watch out for, first of all, sitting at around 29.7k. Once again, that should now be acting as a new resistance because we have broken to the downside below that level. But if we actually break back above 29.7k, then in that case, next I expect a resistance at around 30.3k to 30.4k. And technically, this bear flag pattern is still sitting close to the 28.7 thousand, and so once again acting on the chart, which from the current price, 2% drop in the price of Bitcoin. But remember, as I said earlier, the upcoming Fed meeting could have really impact the short term. So Anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this slide. The daily ETH to US dollar right now, the price of Ethereum is still trading slowly. So above this important area of support sitting in between around 70.70 and 80.20. And as of the daily Ethereum price oscillator, right now there is still looking relatively neutral because first of all the RSI is still essentially chopping around sideways. If this confirmed a lower high, then considering it already has confirmed a lower low, obviously in that scenario, again something in the back, even though as of right now it is not showing a lot of momentum. But if the MAC does continue in the trend that is currently on the potentially build up more bearish momentum, if we stay in the current trajectory, but at least for once again we have limited momentum in the short term, meaning we should not really be expecting a massive crash, at least for now, to into the 4-hour chart. The price of Ethereum is still ascending line on the support, which is sitting at around 1890. It is not sitting at around 1.9k, so at least in the short term we actually see a bounce back. So positive Fed meeting the upside, then it should now be acting as a new resistance. And as for the other level of support and resistance, taking a look at the 4-hour chart again in the retracement tool, we have the 50% retracement level acting as a support around 80.20 and 80.30 below. That if the golden pocket area of support between around 70.60 and 70.70. So approximately as of the short term resistance, we could find some resistance at around 80.70. Above that, once again 1.9k will be acting as a resistance, and above that we could also find some resistance at around 90.30. And as for the shorter term trend played, obviously we are technically looking more bearish than bullish as of right now. When you are talking about just the shorter term here, already been saying over the last few days, but remember, as I have said earlier, the upcoming Fed meeting happening very soon, so could potentially change this short term trend depending on the outcome, which I will be covering in real time over on my YouTube channel. So you know how to maximize your profit in crypto, no matter if the price is going up to upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around. You can also check out the 2SK platform. So there's a lot of things, investing like trading you can do right there. You should go check it out. So that's back to the Bitcoin. let's talk about Bitcoin. So there is a Bitcoin starting with a low time frame bearish scenario where we downside zigzag on the downside, and the wave structure follow with a three-way structure, and now we are looking again at the five-way move for a C wave. Is between once again the extension taken from the high to the low to the high sitting between 28.1k and 27.66k, which is just above an important support area, and therefore if the price will move toward the downside, I don't really expect this area to hold on great support. I expect the blue area, the on the under sitting at around like 28.9. Target area find support, the potentially a move towards the upside, and currently price is bouncing on the 0.618 trend has base flip, which is a rare target for the chart. You see that the wave is B retraced on the 0.382 target from the wave B, taking the low wave, so that the scenario would be for the price to move above this level. So an impulse to the downside, then a potential wave or any corrective structure is just allowed to take to the origin. While the invalidation you must have read in the box over here. So currently you see a fifth time on my chart taken from the high to the low. We're basically comparing, and the time is to develop this wave, which the time is taken to develop this wave C. You can already see that the price has now passed on the 1/5 time, meaning that this structure over here, since the high of B is longer in time. Start to be a problem because if only wave 1 and wave 2 are we are looking for a wave 3. So the downside, this wave is going to be a much longer compared to a wave here. Now there's a problem, and let's say around 1.618 time, which is sitting at around 6 a.m. and Central is European time, or maybe a little bit after. However, if this is only 2, we still need a 3 than you need for which is usually longer 2, and then another 5. You can imagine this wave is going to be extremely long in the time compared to wave. Already about the other scenario where either we move toward the upside because of time, or this move to the downside is part of a bigger impulse where we are not counting this an ABC, but potentially as a bigger ABC or in the median time frame, a bearish scenario. This is the high of 5, therefore the higher of the B, and there where we are going to be looking for a much bigger impulsive structure to the downside in a wave. So because the price and time are both related to the Eli wave bullish scenario, we are looking move to the upside. So over here and over down, we are looking for an ABC, which inside downside where we have only 2 or 3 sideways for the downside where target for a wave 4 and wave 5 is the target the 0.618 taken from the high to the low 3 to the high of wave 4 where the trend base hit extension tool. Now this means that after bouncing on support at 29k, the white box over here, or we want to see impulsive structure, because now we want to see the trend. We arrive to the upside with an deposit structure very close indeed. So now you want to see the same thing happening. You want to see constitution to the upside in positive structure, while at the moment it doesn't really look very imposite on the micro time frame, but we'll get a scenario what I've been looking for is price move to the upside, and we'll still have a triple top over here and high one high number. That is also the first resistance area for this price, a small one over here between 30k and 31.1k, but this one over here is a bit more important, between 30.4 and 30.6. Maybe here a liquidity or grab, a rejection toward the downside. We can also potentially backtest the support resistance and have over here, which we have currently as resistance, right, was support for a long period of time. Resistance, so moving up, take this liquidity, hit the resistance, however, backtest this area for then it moved important resistance is up here around a 31k or 31.1k to 31.3k. I have already down, but this is quite important. We are at a resistance. It is a very simple support resistance to let you know trading doesn't have to be difficult with a personal trading strategy and the entire requirements and all the stuff or the support resistance are very successful. If they do one over here or one would have taken a short, you are in a profit, very nice. Now in this scenario, on this particular line, what you are seeing on the chart, we are over here. On the bullish call, the black task and continuing the upside, maybe the CVD divergence, whatever you're looking for, potentially entire trade. We also have a next resistance that value are lower over here, and this value so first we have to cross the support resistance area. The next up is the value area low. But the nice thing about range trading is an improbability is that the price will enter the value area, maybe backtest the value area or the move at the probability are high to reach the value area high, which it is 30.7k, but the value area high is basically in the middle of, because there is a big gap on the efficiency. But imagine price moving up to 31k, you have a little bit of insecure, sometimes something to look for at the moment through we are resistant over as a long price cannot get above this area. If we go to the micro, so the bullish scenario, they're looking for the impulsive structure to the upside, right? So this is to be a first structure on the upside. We're looking for a Y wave correction in ABC over where the most common targets are for has been hit very nicely between the 1 and the 1.236 taken. confluence, but this is low to the high for the now and communication upside, which is what you are bullish, right? You want to see impulsive structure of the problem. However, a dick structure over here. If you look at the structure, there are two options for a bullish scenario. Either have an impulsive one, two or three or four or five, a diagonal, and by the far most common is contracting diagonal. So you have something like this, and they have a or one or two or three. For then you get a wave two, and then a three toward the upside. But this is an expected diagonal. If you're looking at the trend line, which is much more rare, not but really a lot of more rare, some sort of expecting diagonal, the probability for the bullish scenario are automatically less right, like that just a probability things in alpha would. Now you could potentially think about a 1 or 2, and that means you need to see a 5 or 3 or 35 and there before that communicating doesn't really look like on the lower time frame, which as this is a little move towards to the upside, the range to the range to the downside. So that, but this is particularly scenario we're looking into the balance here, and now I'm impulsive structure to the upside, where you're definitely going to take this high, but you are also going to flip resistance area and going to flip resistance area that we have both price at the moment for the more downside. So now this range here is not bullish, it is being bearish, it is complex corrective structure, and we are not looking for a move to the downside, then a wave or one followed by a wave two, and potentially another wave 1 2 before a bigger 3 to the downside. In this scenario, we were also looking for the overline or dotted chart. Yesterday live, you have seen this as well, ranking over here, as and I was looking for that golden pocket area. So its goal, we were looking for a new flex daily naked point on control to be made around this level, right? Expecting that the point of control of yesterday was not gonna change anymore. We were expecting a new fresh daily naked point of control. There you go. 29457, a fresh daily naked point of control, which there on the 786, which is pulled back lower over here. So there is some confidence, especially if price will move toward the upside and potentially create some bearish CVD divergence. It will be a very interesting short setup. Of course, there is no financial advice. This is just a potential scenario based on the wave with some other confluence that we have so in it. So particular scenario, right? We are looking a bigger impulsive structure to the downside in a 1 or 2, and they expected a bit more than the downside, or you will expect another 1 or 2 a bit to the downside. We do have a important news coming up lately today, so that's how price is going to lack in the CVD divergence. So this is about Bitcoin changing prices. So so there's an activity divergence over here, but probably I like to see CVD divergence where actually high and not like other between high and less keen. And the same actually happened for that bullish CVD divergence, which is in between high, which is the price is changing on lower on the CVD target, high over here, but at the moment there's no CVD divergence. Right here. So a chart that you can see over here and this line toward the upside currently on the higher low on the price, but over here you can see clearly on the lower low bullish. If I zoom in out, there's currently no bearish CVD with this divergence. So with the actually low briefly, so not this one over here, which is the higher and CVD, you need to take the lower or lower over here and some started to range one, because sometimes take the in between lower, well, for example, but this is any of the lower divergence, not with this one. So we need a lot of patience from a CVD perspective. Then, as mentioned, we had news or 20:30 p.m. Central Fast, but European, we have some high impact, but seeing by the flag pattern, you trade safe, however, and then finally, if we look at the finally probability of the different scenario, that on the low time frame at the moment, just because of the range that we have moving to the upside over here, which look expanding to the higher probability for a quite right is toward the downside. That just to say it is something. So low frame scenario, high probability doesn't mean it to be an ABC. It can also write it's just a downside is the more preferred. Why on the micro? So apparently the higher scenario for is just because the range to the upside. Now if the price is going to move in positively to the upside, the volume increases will structure to the upside keys. So it depends now on the price move to the upside, because this bullish scenario where we are looking for a bounce here, but also we are looking to the bounce too, but we should be in 3 with structure Y. The bullish scenario you are on the imposite structure, and in the bullish scenario you want to see this being broken, keep and iron. So this is about Bitcoin. After Bitcoin, we're going to talk about an Ethereum. First of all, let's go to the Ethereum prices. You can see right here. So you can see right here there's a lot of Binance, Kraken, KuCoin. So let's talk about Ethereum. Back to the chart here. So let's talk about Ethereum. So actions in the last update, really boring price action, but the good news is we're moving down. So yes, slowly but steadily deeper into our target wave 2. So the idea is still, and anybody who's been watching this live for a while, you know that wave count that we have a wave 1 to the other side into the 14. Actually, quite a bullish structure since the price has come downside is coming in what I consider a ABC structure, a corrector structure. The price is have been down and very much boring overlapping. So many volume is a let's go to the volume here and there. So pretty good to see why did this go to the CURS, because if value goes lower and it is pretty low, and then this is indication for ideally which we are really in correction. So yeah, if this was aggressive, so on what we see value, and if the again I will indicate the correction is going to continue, the sell off is going continue in the volume, is that typically indication this is south of getting closer to where and okay. In fact, I do expect it go a little bit lower, possibly 80-30 and then 70-80. That's sort of the ideal range I will be looking at in the previous slide. Look at the more prices, circle wave 3. So just an explanation, corrective pattern. We are on the ABC wave concept. Wave 5, so we are for a 5-way move here on the downside. We are in 3rd way, as I have sketched about detail. We count for the 3rd way as an ABC structure. Again, don't want to go into the math. Yeah, I will be maxi, and we don't the macro count, because they get more reliable, more unreliable, or the reliable the lower we get and degree, and then in some point at pointless. Now we should go lower. So wave 3, and we can also take a look to the target base on the Fibonacci extension. So I can take the length of the wave or wave D, go to the higher of the wave B of wave 3, and the target will be the 100 extension. Okay, that's at least a very common target for a C wave, and that's the 100 extension in this case, 8040, and we should still got lower and a high one, more lower low that hasn't changed. Today, what is like as a build-up of Ethereum has already started. Here, the C wave, yeah, is a bit too early to say, but it is so far it reacted to our resistance area that I communicated a few days ago. It has reversed on the downside. I know people have their story elevated, started some short trade in the region with similarly. So to be going well at the moment, the idea was this is B wave should not go above. I start basically at the 8088. Yeah, well, pretty much. So it's just not very aggressive, but that actually good to see, because it will give us, I think, higher likelihood of this time support or area to hold. Once again, the idea is inflection. The box is launchpad for a rally. We have a certain level here on the interest. We had a Pharaonic level in between layer and between additional. So at least a very common target and extension case. This case is 8040, and then we should still got one more lower high and one more lower low that hasn't changed, but today what it look a bit as of has already started here. C wave, yeah, it is a bit too early to say, but so far it has reacted to our resistance area that I communicated a few days ago and have reversed. Few people had their short active or started some short trades in this region, which seemingly seem to be going well at the moment. The idea was that this B wave should not go above 1888, and where has it stopped? Well, basically 1888, yeah, or well, pretty much 1888. So yeah, it seems like we're coming down now, and the fee wave is just no, we're not very aggressive, but that's actually good to see because it will give us, I think, a higher likelihood of this entire support area to hold again. The idea is the yellow is the box in this launch pad for a third wave rally, and we have a certain level here on the interest again to 8030 to 7080 is one key area, and we have a few Fibonacci level in between layer in between as additional support below 7081. We have got this ascending trending line support. I already think in November, yeah, don't move to the trend line, but in here, you can say right here, the most important level for me is the 7030 level, or let's call it between $100 if we got a break below that, because that is 78.6 retracement that we have to assume that this setup which is eventually set the price up to rally higher, that this 1-2 setup is falling, okay, it should not break below the 78.6 pip level. That's typically the low boundary support. I mean, for the option for a wave 2 correction, so there is not much more to add, but ideally we go lower and a little bit and should turn around here shortly, maybe not this week, maybe next week, for the third wave rally higher, and it could take us to $2,500 and beyond. Again, that condition is that the 7000 level is holding okay. That's my update about Ethereum, and another effect about Ethereum is so in another talking about Ethereum, we have our 5 wave to the upside that everybody aware about, and the correcting move to the downside. It started here at like here, and this is what the spike on the Fortija line. Yeah, we have this structure which is coming down. A lot of people aware of standard impulse and corrective pattern in light wave, however, diagonal are a part of the crypto I like to do. We talk about what a diagonal is in a minute, but here and the idea is we are in the wave 2. On the wave B and the wave C, there a wave was okay, the P wave. That it could have top here and the chopped downside it is playing. Downside playing also far, and we have a support cluster around 80.20 to 80.30. We have a structure support as you can see here. On zoom in to the much more, and the 80.30 to 80.20 to 80.30 we have the 50 Fibonacci retracement level. The retracement level here at 80.28, and if I measure the target, so what you need to know is of time that wave had the same length as the wave, then where do I get 1 second just to make sure? So that will actually take us down to 70.67, 76, but the 61.8 extension, which is the very first target, of A and C. It is not a very common one, but it is the very first target that 80.34 and what the price reacted to here on the 24th of July. Nevertheless, the 1-to-1 ratio is also a common, and when I do not primarily assume that 80.30, that entire correction is over, it is certainly the next target I will watch, but the price action suggests that there should be a stay one more lower high, one more lower low, getting closer to an around 70.80. Ethereum generally like to see the golden ratio. I did a highlight that now in a few live. I did that on the 50 John like that, this area, but I came down just below the golden ratio, touched to the trend line, looked like something like that could happen again. It might just do this sort of a final captional sell touch the trend line, and then go this, of course, something we always need to consider. So a few days, okay, I can confirm to everybody as right now. So you need to know that in crypto, when after such a long correction, the price is turning around. It can happen very very quickly. Like also I did one to the wave like down all the time. So because they are waiting for lower lows, anything will change very quickly, and I didn't move rapidly. I didn't move very very rapidly, and can always happen in crypto, because until you see after such a long correction, a 5-way move up, the confirmation, a price, it might have already moved like 100 or 20%. Here in this case, it was just around, and just measure that how much here, around about 8%. A lot of altcoins they move up more at a time, just to be aware it can happen very quick. So it's all about, okay, do I get skill, I do get I get the best average price on, do I wait for a turn around a confirmation, but it might take the risk. Price has already moved up to the 10 to the 20. By the time I can enter a position, we just need to aware of the encrypt I like to do in max of those two, just to get the both a moment, the idea is still to the price to go down lower. We are still holding below the trend line and break above the trend. Trend line might trigger the wave count change. So, and a shift, but as you can see here, the last rally to the upside that occurred yesterday. Got see. Exactly the reason why I scale into this support area that the while they are so big and colorful, you cannot predict, you can manage, tactic. That's why I like to scale into this area because I know that reaction to the upside typically happen even if it eventually break down. So just one thing that on the course it is allowed to turn out to the upside already because it is already enter the trend reversal area and then the structure to the downside still look complete. So even if we do and corrective, so three wave down to the confirm that the trend has shifted. Okay, those are actually three things you need to know about the current structure. Okay, about Ethereum. If you so first, we're going to take it back to the Bitcoin chart. So Bitcoin is like descending so much. So you know that we need to pay attention to this. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. So we're going to talk about for now is the Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Bitcoin for now. So based on the current information, the market are pricing on 78 chance of no change in interest rate at the next time Fed meeting and around at 2022 chance or another 25 basis point hike at the next Fed meeting. So at least for now, based on what the majority in the market, so the target is basically pricing in for interest rate to no longer go to the upside. Basically, we are at a peak interest rate right now based on what the majority in the market is pricing and just following along with what majority in the market is currently pricing and the market is expecting for interest rate to stay at this level for at least a few months, possibly around half a year. And then as we enter into early 2022, we could potentially start to expect interest rate, which means interest rate coming back to the downside. Once again, it is simply based on what the majority in the market it is currently pricing. In fact, obviously between now and these probability can change based on factor like inflation data, for example, and now for some reason some people out there are arguing the interest rate, but the market, because the off time we usually see interest rate cut during time where the market is basically collapsing. But it is important to understand that correlation does not equal caution so far. Example, in the 2008 collapse, when the market and the banking system were imploding back in 2008, the Federal Reserve obviously stepped in by cutting interest rate, announcing quantitative printing money and bailing out the bank. But it wasn't because that Fed cut started QE the collapse actually happened, obviously it was due to the other factor, and in fact that collapse probably would have been a lot or worse in the Federal Reserve did not cut rate and stop money printing. So always cutting rate and money printing is obviously a bullish force for the market. It just we have often usually on the sum rate during the time where the market are not doing too good, but obviously this time around the rate have been a focus due to the inflation, and so inflation coming back to the normal rate are at a restricted level, like for as an example right now at the 5.4%, then it makes sense for the Federal Reserve to the starting reducing rate. So come back down to a more normal level, and now considering the fact the market forecasting rate cuts potentially coming next year, this is technically bearish for the US dollar because lower to the yield. In fact, just recently, we have seen a break to the downside in the DXY below this important. At least some short-term resistance sitting at around 101 or like zero point 0.4 approximately. And now, if you are not new to all of this, you might be wondering what does all of this have to do with crypto and Bitcoin. For example, we're basically, because we usually look at the Bitcoin chart with the Bitcoin value versus the US dollar. If the US dollar is going to the downside, it is usually good for Bitcoin when you value of Bitcoin is US dollar, but one of the flip side on the US dollar is so strong gathering value, then when you value Bitcoin against the US dollar, that usually means Bitcoin is not too good because the US dollar itself is doing very good, and so essentially we have an inverse correction between the GXY and the BT Bitcoin to USD chart. For example, if we take a look to the Bitcoin to US dollar chart here on the weekly time frame, the candlestick or the Bitcoin prices, this red line right there is the current US dollar currently index, and what we can see right here is during the exact same times where the GXY is in a major downtrend. That also has happened during the exact same time where the Bitcoin is very, very bullish. But on the other hand, obviously, with the DXY is moving back to the upside quite strongly, that usually means Bitcoin is very weak, and it is value versus the US dollar. And so once again, right now the GS1 US dollar is the currency index. So downtrend of the larger time frame, which has been 2022, is technically still in the case, which means as of right now, Bitcoin is technically looking for bullish when you are time frame and the multi-month long move on the chart. And so bringing it back to this day, GX1 chart, if we actually see a rejection in the GX1 from this previous level, so suppose which is potentially not acting as newer resistance, then in that case, obviously, as I just explained, that would be a very bullish signal for Bitcoin. If we see a strong rejection from this level, but on the flip side, if we actually see a break back above that level, that could be a shorter term bearish signal for Bitcoin. But in that case, that doesn't really matter. Necessarily revert the larger trend at a play, because obviously for that we will need to start from newer higher highs and higher lows against, and obviously at least as right now we are still on a long way from the happening. And now just before getting into some other important Bitcoin and Ethereum chart, first quickly reminding that you can also trade and investing and OTC on playing games. You can do it on 2SK platform. So it is a safe platform that I've been working on. So you can try the 2SK platform. If you want to, you can DM me. So back to the chart. So in Ethereum, the bullish we have not confirmed and new bullish cause of right now, which basically mean we are still currently within a bit of short-term correction. So face here on the daily time frame, in the weekly time frame, I mean, not looking overly bullish when you are talking about the short term. So let's take a look to the daytime. So look at the 1-day chart. Obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is continuing in a bit more of a short-term bound from this important Fibonacci level or support, which is the 38.2 Fibonacci level sitting at the 28.9k. So that is the new short-term supposed to pay attention. But if that level actually does not hold up and we see a confirmed break below 28.9k, then in that case we have the 50 retracement level acting as a support at around 28,000, and below we have the important golden pocket on 2000, so to 27.2k. And as for shorter term resistance, we could find some resistance around 30,000, which is a previous Fibonacci level support once again. Now potentially adding as a new resistance. Now if you're zooming into a much smaller time frame, a Bitcoin chart, obviously as I have talked about over the last 1 week or two, we do technically have short-term bearish flag pattern, which is currently active. At the time of doing this live, we actually see a confirmed breakout in the price of Ethereum, which is sitting at around 29.7k. I mean 90.7k. That in that case, we actually invalidated this previous bear flag pattern and invalidated this price down target to downside. And so at least for now, while the price of Bitcoin is still currently below 29.7k, okay, technically speaking, this price target is still currently in play. It is still active, which is sitting at around 28,500. But once again, between now and the price target, that is obviously on that level that I just mentioned earlier. And once again, it is important to understand that if we actually break back above 29.7k, then the price target is now no longer in place. So that is the point of invalidation. In not even the scenario, we could also find some short-term resistance up here, and now it's 90.4k. So just keep in mind, obviously we still have a level of resistance back to the upside, even if we start to flick more bullish, but in the short term. So anyway, now getting into the Bitcoin Ethereum prices. So on this slide, the daily A to US dollar is not the price of Ethereum, is still trading slightly up the important area of sitting in between around 70-70, so 80-20. If you're looking at the daily Ethereum price oscillator, at least for now, these are still looking relatively neutral. We're not really seeing a lot of momentum on the chart, at least for now, which once again, as I have been saying almost every day over the last almost over 1 week. So this means that we should not really be expecting a lot of significant movement. There is the price of Ethereum at least. So the shorter term is therefore like going to see a relatively price action, which is potentially a slight pullback So price action exactly like what we have seen over the last 1 week. So to the 1 day hour chart right now, the price of Ethereum is still trading. So below this previous ascending line on support, which is now acting as a new resistance, it is currently sitting at around 1.9k. So just keep in mind, even if we do continue this short-term bounce back to the upside, obviously, we do have some resistance around area that we cannot forget about. So looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool for the swing. So so let's take a look to the other things. Like this is 1 day chart, and let's go to the 4 hour chart. You can see right here there's price changing around. So today we have been talking about talked about Bitcoin and Ethereum prices, how it's going on and what is happening in the chart. So you can also try the 2SK platform. You can also invest or trade or play games or OTC, like you can do it right there. So it was a secure platform that I've been working on. So I just suggest you to do it. So thank you for watching, guys. We're gonna see you next day. Thank you for watching my live. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up to the live. You can also check out other videos.